Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today, entitled Mom Takes My Car. After that, get me fired? Say goodbye to your bonus and promotion. After that, guy scams me online. He loses, I become a hero. After that, don't interrupt me when I'm trying to upsell. And after that, Karen thinks she can walk in my house and help herself to my dinner. Now, Karen assured me if we can get 1,000 likes on this video, she won't try taking anyone else's dinner for an entire week. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And by the way, join as an official member of the Re-Army today, and I'll give you a special shout out in our next video. Entitled Mom Takes My Car. This happened yesterday, and I'm still mad. An important note, I'm in a wheelchair most of the time and have parking plates on our car. Our cast. We've got me, we've got my fiance, we've got entitled mother and entitled father. This past week, my fiance and I have been staying with her parents 4 hours away for her sister's wedding, along with more of her extended family. Until yesterday, the trip had been lovely. Her family are surprisingly accepting of us and helpful when it comes to my disability. We arrived a few days earlier than other family members, so fiance can spend more time with her parents and siblings. Since we've arrived, we've been joined by her grandparents, cool uncle and his kids, plus her brother, entitled father, his wife, entitled mother, and their kids. The wedding isn't until Saturday, so my fiance and I have been passing the time by exploring the area and checking out local cafes, and that was our plan for that day too. We woke up around midday, and after doing our makeup and getting dressed, we go to the driveway to find our car gone. Naturally, we start panicking and frantically asking everyone home if they know what happened, including entitled father. We cancel our plans for the day and spend 2 hours figuring out what to do when we hear a car pull into the driveway. We rush outside only to see our car pulling in and entitled mom and her kids climbing out. Fiance stomps up to her and demands to know what the heck she was doing. Me trailing along behind her. Fiance, what are you doing with our car? Entitled mom, I just borrowed it to go to this supermarket. Me, why didn't you take yours? Because it's busy at this time of day, and I wanted to get a spot. We just stared at her, dumbfounded, before entitled father rushed out of the house to join in. Entitled father, what's going on here? Entitled mom, they're angry at me for borrowing the car. Come on guys, it isn't a big deal. She had the kids with her. Me, then she can take her own car and park in a parent spot. Entitled mom, but parking at the door was so much easier. You try shopping with 4 kids. I don't want them walking through a car park. Plus, eldest kid has hurt his leg and needed it. After trying to explain how we didn't consider it borrowing if she didn't ask, how it was illegal for her to use my permit, and finding out entitled father had lied to us about knowing where our car was, his wife finally snapped. She knelt down in front of me and grabbed the wheels of my chair, holding me in place. She got into my face and started screaming. If you're so sick you can't even walk, I'd be disappointed if I were your parents. Who would want you for a daughter? You're lucky you're not my kid. I had enough at this point and started crying. I can't handle things like this, and I'm the first to admit I'm a crybaby. Here is when fiance's parents rush out of the house to see what's happening, and entitled mom turns on her own waterworks. She starts crying about how we're awful and selfish, and will never understand how hard it is to raise kids. Fiance's dad made her get her shopping bag out of the car and got our keys off her. Turns out, entitled father snuck into our room when we were sleeping, took them, and gave them to entitled mom. The rest of the day, she was awful to the two of us, even tipping a whole glass of milk on me. After talking with fiance's parents about how uncomfortable we were staying with her while she's being like this, we made the decision to check into the local hotel for the rest of our stay. And here's the cherry on top. After packing our things and getting in the car, we noticed that entitled mom had removed our heart-shaped Pride air freshener, taken down the photo of fiance, me, plus a bunch of our friends, and messed with our radio. She also peeled off the sticker of the Team Instinct logo we had on our dash, along with throwing the Pikachu plush we had on there into the back of the car. Today is Thursday, and I'm really dreading having to see the two of them on Saturday. I hope they act like adults and don't cause a scene at the wedding. We've uninvited the two of them from our wedding, but sadly, the wedding on Saturday isn't ours, and we can't do anything about them being there. I absolutely love all the recommendations to sticker bomb their car in pride stickers, and I'm absolutely considering that. It would upset her so much. We spoke to my in-laws, and they wanted to kick the entitled parents out of the house, but fiance and I decided to go to a hotel instead. Only so much I can handle being woken up at 6 a.m. by kids asking to play my Switch. Has anybody ever borrowed anything from you without asking? Please leave me a comment letting me know. Next we've got Get Me Fired? Say goodbye to your bonus and promotion. This happened a good long while ago. I was in high school and got a job at one of the big box stores in the computer department. This store chain had an in-house technician department, which was always where I wanted to go. After busting my butt in sales for 2 years, putting up with rude customers, silly rules, and all the other glorious trappings of a retail job, I finally got a chance to be promoted to the technician department. It was not as glamorous as I thought it would be. I quickly found out that most of the repairs consisted of running the pre-packaged antivirus suite, updating Windows, and doing data backups prior to wiping computers clean and reinstalling them. I always liked tinkering with hardware more, but since 80% of customers had laptops and those repairs were deemed too complicated by corporate, we would just send the laptops out to get repaired by the third-party vendor. It was still better than sales by a long shot, and we had a great team working in the technician area, except for one dude. Let's call him Mike. He always behaved like his crap smelled like roses. He was technically a lead technician, and even though that just meant he had a little more authority, he had access to a corporate account to arrange shipments of computers to and from our store. He was acting like he was the manager of our department. Nevertheless, our actual manager was a splendid dude that took care of us, and as such, Mike's jerkery did not bother any of us that much. Fast forward a little, and our awesome manager found a much better job. This opened up a spot for manager, and since the whole store supervision was going through a shakeup, the general manager had been fired, and all the people he hired, 90% of managers, were under review. This led to everybody trying their hardest not to mess up, and the new general manager decided that since our department was one of the best in the district, he would not try to hire an outsider, but would promote from within. Now Mike was working at this store for almost 10 years at that point, and a couple of people that started working with him as sales associates were by this point managers and assistant managers. One of them, Brittany, was an assistant manager in charge of customer services and checkout. One of the conditions for Mike's official promotion to manager was to keep the #1 spot in the district performance-wise. One of the key metrics was the rejection rate from our third-party vendor. If we mistakenly sent them a software problem to fix, they would charge us extra. Mike started obsessing about those numbers, especially when it came to the rejection rate. He insisted that we would spend extra time to confirm issues even when there were recalls from manufacturers for these items. I hated this bureaucracy, since it meant that people needed to wait almost the maximum allowed time to get their computers back. So a few times I skipped the extra diagnostics when I knew for sure the problem was hardware. One day, Mike decided to do an audit on all outgoing machines and found out that I've sent 4 units skipping his extra checks. He told me that he will write me up for it, but when he tried, General Manager told him that he is not a manager yet, and I have shown to the GM that I followed the corporate procedure in diagnosing these units. I thought that was the end of this, but I was sorely mistaken. Mike hated that I showed a GM that Mike's procedure was inefficient and that he was denied power over me. About a month later, I got a call from Mike asking if I could come to the store on my day off because there was an issue with a customer. When I came in, I was greeted by Mike with a crap-eating grin, and he told me to wait in the back and not to work on any computers. After about an hour, Mike and Brittany came in and asked me to head to the front office. They started an official write-up process and claimed that I have made a mistake creating a backup of customers' data and have placed a DVD with no data on it into the box that was returned to customer and then wiped his PC clean. I knew it was BS, since I always copy the data to an external hard drive, run antivirus to make sure that nothing bad got copied, and then burn DVDs. Yet, when I asked to check the external hard drive, Mike said that due to my negligence, I was not allowed back in the tech area. He went to check the hard drive and said there was nothing on it. At that point, I knew he was BSing, but him and Brittany were hard bent on completing the write-up. I have asked for a senior management to be present and was shot down again. Turns out GM was on vacation. They completed the write-up and told me that due to the egregious error that cost the company tens of thousands of dollars, I was not allowed to work in the tech room and I would be relegated back to the sales floor. I told them to shove it and submitted my resignation on the spot. I later found out that a week later, they gave the customer the data that was on the hard drive all this time. Mike simply erased the DVDs. I grabbed a rewritable DVD by mistake for that backup and waited for the customer to come back and complain. I have also called the corporate HR line and told them what happened. They said that since I quit with a letter of resignation, they would not launch an investigation, but they have received and recorded my complaint. Through luck and the fact that I was a good hardware tech, I landed a job at a shop that did hardware repairs a week later and started in another week. Turns out, this depot was the service center that covered the entire district, and they had the master contract with the big box chain where I worked. Since I have worked as the tech in that store, I was more than familiar with their labeling and ticketing system. For tracking purposes, the label included the store and technician number. After a couple of weeks, I gathered some goodwill at my new job and started trading the units with my colleagues to work on as many units from my old store as possible. Over the next 3 months, I made sure that every single unit sent in by Mike would come back with an extra charge. Also, it turned out that Mike, since he was in charge of shipping, would sometimes steal other technicians' tickets to boost his personal performance numbers to secure that manager position. Well, that bit him in the butt hard. There was one week in particular where he sent in over 15 units out of 20 to get fixed, and 15 units came back with extra software charge. I have also kept detailed records that proved that Mike did not follow his own policy of extra checks. When the performance figures came out for that quarter, store crashed into 5th place from number 1. Mike missed out on his promotion and a big bonus that was promised to him. A good buddy of mine from the store got the manager position a few months after that, and I have explained to him how to reduce the number of software charges to almost 0. So he looked like a superstar. Mike was first relocated to lead technician, then he was either let go or he quit. I'm not sure. Last I heard, he started his own mobile technician business that folded after a year. What I didn't know is that this whole incident with Mike messing up led the GM to review everything Mike did, including my write-up and dismissal. As it turns out, they did not even register the write-up since I quit on the spot and buried it. The only way GM was able to find it is because of the HR complaint that was filed against both Mike and Brittany. GM was not very pleased that they went behind his back to get rid of someone and fired Brittany. He was a very decent man who called me later that day and apologized and even offered me my old job back. I thanked him, but I was making more money at the new place and did not have to deal with the customers, so I passed. Have you ever had a boss that you just couldn't stand? Please leave me a comment right now letting me know. Next we've got, guy scams me online, he loses, I become a hero. This story dates back to around February 2017. I had just gotten CSGO for the PC I got a few months prior to Christmas. I bought the game and had a bit of money left over, so I opened some cases and unboxed an awesome new skin. The skin was worth about $20 at the time, and I was very pumped because the odds of getting something good from a case in that game are crazy low. Naturally, I go and play a few games with my new skin in its full glory. Enter Brad, not real name. I met Brad in a match in Dust 2, and we started chatting. He was 16, seemed like a cool guy, and so I added him. We started playing together often and became pretty good buddies in about a week's time, and we even had each other on Instagram. We were pretty tight. One day, Brad tells me to get online and watch him gamble CSGO skins, so I hop on Skype and watch. He goes onto his site and starts winning a pretty good amount, and I'm obviously super intrigued by it. He starts telling me that he is super good at this and would be willing to do it for me. Looking back, I cannot believe I was that stupid, so I traded him my skin, eager to watch him win me something better. Boom. Call ends. Blocked on Skype, blocked on Steam, blocked on Instagram. 0 means of contact. My skin was gone. I knew I should have just let it go right there. I had learned a very valuable lesson for the low price of $20, and I could drop it and move on. But I was actually really hurt by the whole ordeal. I thought we were friends, and it really upset me. I instantly start messaging mutual friends of me and Brad, and the ones that also didn't get blocked instantly either ignored me or called me an idiot. I made another Steam account, added him, and tried begging. No luck, blocked again. I reported him, which obviously did nothing at all. I was completely out of luck. But then, after a day or so, the feelings of disappointment washed over and anger started to take its place. I was gonna get this guy back. It quickly became a bit of an obsession to get back at this guy in any way possible. I tried angry emails, obviously didn't work. Tried to lurk on Facebook, nada. This went on for about 3 to 4 days until I nearly gave up. What was so frustrating is that I actually had a lot of info on him and the city he lived in, and it was getting me absolutely nowhere. I was nearing giving up till I tried what I thought would be a Hail Mary option. I went on Yellow Pages, put in his name, city, and hit enter. There was exactly one result that popped up in this massive city with this odd last name, and bingo. I look up the house and it's clearly a very wealthy neighborhood. Nobody who lived in a house like that would need to steal $20. So, with all the bravery in my 14-year-old self, I called the number. A lady picks up. Hello? Hello, ma'am. Does a Brad last name live there? She sounds very concerned. Yes, this is his mother speaking. Checkmate. I then proceeded to explain the entire situation to this guy's mom, who sounds absolutely furious at Brad and also terrified I have their home phone number. Then Brad's father comes in the room and she puts me on speakerphone so I can explain the whole story to him. He is livid at Brad. He tells me through audibly gritted teeth that he is going to sort it out and to stay on my computer. About 5 minutes later, receive a friend request from Brad and also a trade invitation where he was not only giving me my skin back, but more items, each one worth in excess of $200, and I accepted the trade. I get a call back from the number. It was Brad, faintly crying and apologizing for what he had done, saying that his father was very upset with him. The way he was talking made it clear his dad was in the room. I started to giggle a bit at how insane the situation was. I told him I'd forgive him if he sent me his trade history, which he did in a record pace. I saw the items he had in the trade history, added the guys I assumed he stole them from, asked them if they had been scammed by Brad, and then I surprised all of them by returning the stolen items. Next we've got, don't interrupt me when I'm trying to upsell. So we have a rewards membership. There's a basic version that is free and gives points on purchases, and also a pro version that costs $15 per year that additionally gives a discount on used games, monthly coupons, magazine subscriptions, and some other stuff. The rewards card is part of a tracked metric which we are told to keep above a good number, roughly 15%. So essentially, for every 100 customers you ring up, you should sell about 15 pro rewards cards. I had just served a customer who had already had a pro card, and as he was gathering his things off to the side, I started to take the next person. He didn't have a pro card, so I started telling him about the benefits. So the pro card would be pretty good for you since you're getting a lot of used games here. It gives a 10% discount on used games. Normally it's $15 for a year, but with the games you're getting, it's essentially only like $5. He was getting around $100 of used games. For a year, I explained. He looked like he was thinking about it. I went to get the games and put them in the case, and then resumed the conversation. So, would you like to sign up? It's a good deal if you come here often, I said. As I'm talking to him, Pro Guy butts in. Hey, if you want, you can use my card to get the discount. Then you don't have to pay anything. He snorted. I was kind of taken aback as I had never had this happen before. There was an established policy that said we are not allowed to have community rewards cards, which is basically just a card that some unscrupulous employee would use to ring up any customer that didn't have a card and didn't want to buy one, to keep their numbers up. This was a big no-no as far as policy goes, but some people still did it for fear of being fired for the numbers being too low. Instead, they got fired for having a community rewards card. Anyway, I quickly reasoned that the policy would apply here. Customers are completely fine to let friends and family use their accounts, but I decided that customers with no connection could not, and this was affirmed by my higher-ups after telling them about this. I calmly say to Pro Guy, I'm sorry, sir, but he can't use your card. He looks offended. What? What do you mean? I've let my friends use my account before, he says. I say, yeah, friends is okay, but you don't know him, do you? I turn to the new guy in front and ask, do you know him? Referring to pro guy. New guy shakes his head. Pro guy says, so what if we don't know each other? I'm just trying to save the guy some money. No, you just want the points from his transaction. New guy says to pro guy, thanks buddy, but I'm okay. He turns to me and says, I think I'll pass on the car today, but thanks for the info. No problem, I respond. You'd think that would be the end of it, but pro guy is not satisfied. See, he didn't buy it, so you can use my card now. To new guy, you'll save money. To me, and you'll keep your numbers up. It's a win-win. Some regulars know about the metrics, not many. I casually say, sir, I'm in the middle of a transaction. This gentleman has told you he doesn't want to use your card. Please let us finish the transaction. He does not like this. I can't believe you're talking to a customer like that. Give me the number for corporate. I can help you as soon as I'm done with this customer, sir. As I'm finishing up with new guy, my manager comes in from break and goes to the back to put her stuff away. I say to pro guy, she's the manager if you want to talk to her about it. Apparently, he didn't want to talk to her. I'm guessing he did something similar in the past and she told him off. I don't remember if he saw her as she was walking by, but perhaps he didn't. Otherwise, he would have said something. But after telling him that, he seemed to just drop it and left. I'm still curious as to what exactly his argument was going to be. The associate wouldn't let me stop him from trying to sell a rewards membership. Some people are so silly. Do you have a rewards card at any of the stores you shop at? Please leave me a comment letting me know. Next we've got, Karen thinks she can walk in my house and help herself to my dinner. This story happened many years ago. While we were in the military, we moved frequently, and at one base in particular, we lived in condo-style houses, lines of homes that have one or two walls that are connected to each other. I mention the type of house because it shows how close we were to our neighbors. We did have our own driveways, but they were for single cars and were right next to our neighbors. This base was in a warm location where we should have had air conditioning, but we did not. We were enlisted and lived in older houses, and only newer enlisted or officers had AC. The reason I mention this is because I would leave my front door open and just have the screen door closed so we would get crosswind to cool the house. This should have not been a big deal, right? Wrong. Our neighbor that was connected to our left liked to come over and borrow things. Our neighbor, or choosing beggar, will be referred to as CB moving forward, and would come over, and at the beginning, she would knock, and she would just ask for things such as a cup of sugar or milk. Then, as time progressed, CB would knock and just walk in, and at this point, she still asked for stuff. To be honest, this didn't really bother me too bad because it wasn't too frequent, and then all of a sudden it changed, and CB stopped knocking altogether and began just walking in. I did say something, keeping it light in hopes that it would work. I knew we were going to be neighbors for a while, and it could be bad to have a bad relationship between neighbors. Back then, I had a lot of anxiety about having negative interactions with people. Then CB became pregnant, and her entitlement all of a sudden knew no bounds. CB would not only walk into my house, she would go into my fridge or freezer and grab whatever she wanted. This one time I was making dinner, and she walked over and smelled it, grabbed a plate, and served herself. I said something to the effect of, I am making that for my husband, and CB responded that she is only taking a little and there will be plenty for him. That was it. I was mad. After that, I tried locking my screen door, but the cheap lock wouldn't hold. CB was able to pull the door open and eventually snapped the lock off. I finally said forget it and started shutting my actual door, which wasn't good because it was hot and no AC, but it was better than dealing with her every day. I thought that would work, but she started going through our back door and coming through our screen door. Oh, did I mention her husband was like 3 ranks higher than mine, and she was seriously taking from us when they could afford way more? Anyway, this went on while CB was pregnant. Finally, after CB had her baby, CB started asking for even more. She wanted my husband to come over and get the bugs when her husband wasn't home. She asked me to do things she could easily do for herself, like go to the grocery store. The final straw was when she woke me up at 2 a.m. saying so cold and mumbling. I seriously thought something was wrong with her baby. I got up, woke my husband up, let him know, and ran over to her house, and I do mean ran. I ran into her house, door was unlocked, and CB was laying on the couch. She wasn't feeling good. She wanted me to get her a blanket from her upstairs closet. I finally lost it and told her I thought something was wrong with her baby. I was over it. I told her, CB, you are not to walk into our house without permission, and you are not to ask my husband for anything anymore. The only way it is ever okay to call me in the middle of the night ever again is because you need 911. CB just looked at me and said something about, since I am here, can't I get the blanket, and that I am being a horrible neighbor. I walked out of the house, went home, and went to bed. Moving forward, CB scowled at me every time she saw me and pointed at me and talked about me to her husband and other neighbors who told me later. CB's husband got orders and they finally moved. I was so happy because she made it uncomfortable being at my own home till she left. And shout out to our Regenerals of the day, Houston, Paula, and Kathy. Become tomorrow's Regenerals by leaving as many rees as you can in the comments below. And please listen to my playlist every night when you go to sleep.